Hi everyone. As soon as I get acknowledgement from my friend who said he could pick me up to take me to the post box, and he gets here, I am going to the post box place and picking up that thing that in last weekend's vlog I called a guy and said, hey, that thing you were going to send me, have you sent it yet? Well, it's there. And I'm so excited to unbox it and meet my Braille Sense U2 Mini. And I was thinking that I might do an unboxing video for this, or unboxing / vlog. I've never handled a U2 Mini. I'm curious as to what he actually feels like. And yeah, I'm weird. I name my my devices sometimes. A lot of times, I guess. I know it's not a he, it's an it, but just indulge me, okay? I've been waiting for him for 2 weeks, and I'm looking forward to meeting him. The guy who has sent me him is afraid that he will disappoint me, but I don't think he will. I think I'm going to love him, and I'm going to say, yeah, I'm serious. I'm going to send you my thing that I'm not very happy with and take him, keep him. This message has been delivered, but it doesn't show red. Another thing that's going on is I've got 2 back-to-back Zoom meetings from 6 to 8, and that means I don't have a lot of time. The U2 Mini, the U2 period is old. It's like the 2016 model, 2016, 15, 14 model. By a lot of standards, it's just out of date. There are newer Braille Senses out there. A Braille Sense, in case you don't know, is like a mini laptop computer, I would call it, that is specifically made for the blind. It's got like a tiny, one-line screen on it, but more importantly, it has a Braille display. That's what means something to a blind person. And there are newer models than the U2. There's the Polaris and the 6, the Braille Sense 6. Now, I have a Polaris. She just didn't impress me, partly because it was Zoe and not Reed. Well, her default was Samantha, and then I downloaded Zoe, and Zoe was tolerable, but Reed just knows how to deal with punctuation marks better. These are voices. These are reading voices. And Reed is eloquence. I'm going to completely nerd out here. I'm sorry to anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about. Reed is the eloquence speech engine. And Zoe is a nuance speech engine voice. All of the nuance voices just don't seem to know how to deal with punctuation very well. And for them to be reading stories to me, Zoe will do, I guess, but really, in the long run, don't take my Read away from me. Nuance is a speech engine that comes out of the Google Play Store. And so was Read for a while. I mean, Eloquence is the speech synthesizing engine. Read is the voice that I prefer. Eloquence is no longer in the Google App Store since, I don't know, a few months before I got my Braille Sense Polaris. And Read is not able to be downloaded into the Braille Sense Polaris or the Braille Sense 6. The voice was not the only reason why I don't like the Polaris, but it's like the first reason that cropped up for why I wouldn't like it. If I had a whole bunch of money, would I consider getting the Braille Sense 6, giving her a chance? Possibly, but I certainly don't expect her to be any better than the Polaris was at reading stories. Potentially, the Braille Sense 6 could be better than Zoe, my Polaris, was at doing some other things that, I mean, maybe where Zoe the Polaris fell short, Zoe the 6 could shine. Because the Polaris had bugs that the 6 doesn't. But I'll let you know if I ever have the money or the desire to get a 6 and see what she's all about. Right now, I'm really looking forward to going to the post box and picking up this Read. You might be like, no, wait a minute, what do you need with 3 Braille Senses? You got your Read U2, you got your Read Mini now, and you got your Zoe Polaris? Well, Zoe Polaris is about to get a new home. My expectation is to just fall in love with little Reed Mini, and his sister Zoe, that again just didn't measure up, is going to go back to the people who sent me Reed Mini. Actually, originally he was the guy that sold me the Polaris, Zoe. But by the time I realized that I just wasn't going to be happy with Zoe, it was too late to send her back and get my money back. So my expectation is to, do a machine-to-machine trade, which is not something I thought this guy would agree to, but when I asked, he did. So I was like, okay, well, if you're okay with it, then cool. I'll do it. But he's like, well, I want you to get your hands on this U2 Mini first and, be sure that you actually want to part with your Polaris for it. And I'm thinking, well, I've been ready to part with my Polaris, but I see what you mean. Let's make sure that Reed Mini is everything I expect him to be, too. But I don't think he's going to let me down. Even if he does, then it'll be about what's it going to take to get him repaired. Because I suspect if he lets me down, it's not going to be in a way that repairing him can't fix. I mean, if some part of him doesn't work, then what part of him is it? Is it a part that I really am going to depend on? And if so, okay, what's it going to cost to get him repaired? But I don't even think it's going to come to that. I think he's going to just be exactly what I want and way better than Zoe is. Okay, I finally have my little Reed Mini, and I'm going to unbox him and see what he's all about. And the first thing that strikes me about him is boxed up. Before I open the box, his box is literally the same size as my Braille Sense U2. In fact, the Braille Sense U2 is a little bit wider. I mean, I have put this box on top of the U2. It's holding him up pretty well. In fact, I should call Ira and have them take a picture of this so I can use it as my picture for this video. So you can see how tiny he is before I even take him out of the box. I can't imagine, if that's the size of it in the box, I can't imagine how tiny he must be outside of the box. Okay, I have set a timer for 40 minutes, and whatever I can get done in terms of unboxing him and checking him out in the next 40 minutes is just what's going to be able to get done between now and those Zoom meetings, because I've got to eat and then go to those Zoom meetings, and then if I want to play with Reed Mini again, I can. I cannot believe how tiny he is. I'll be even more blown away when I actually get him in my hands, I suspect. Oh my God. He is tiny. I was just kind of fake typing. Hi, tiny little Reed. Do you have any battery at all? You sound like it.
Task name, set up internet. Access point, CenturyLink 8691.
Okay, close this.
27 charged. Using battery. Static box.
He's gonna need some charging. Where's his port? Sorry, I'm not saying much about him. He is teeny. He is absolutely teeny. Let me turn him off here.
Power off.
He is so tiny. This case snaps shut. That's different, but that's not a problem. SD card. The guy who sold me to him is right. He only has I was hoping maybe somehow he had more than that, but no, he doesn't. Oh, that must be a reset button. Okay. Forgive me while I like nerd out over here. We have the Braille Keyboard, tiny keys, but it's good. We have the, what is that? Oh, the media. That's probably the media key over here on the far left. Media buttons, rewind, play, stop. No, rewind, record, stop, play, fast forward. And an 18 to 20 cell Braille display, I'm not quite sure. The first thing I want to do is get a carrying strap on him. Well, the first thing I need to do is put these scissors away because I no longer have any use for them at the moment. There's a strap, like things to attach a carrying strap to, but there's no carrying strap itself. That's okay. I have something that I can I'll just use a strap on that. There's another strap I guess I could use, but I think I'm going to use the one on this. Okay, I finally got that strap on that case. It's going to take me a little while to get used to this guy, as far as like where its ports are, but yeah, that fits in there, and that, yes, fits in there. And I don't like the way that's hanging like that, but I'm going to have the entire desk. Yeah, he is so tiny. Let me compare him to my phone. This U2 Mini with the case closed, I can put my iPhone SE 2020 on top of the U2 Mini with the case closed. And the U2 Mini with the case closed is just a little bit wider than the iPhone. This U2 Mini is teeny. What I'm going to do is, well, plug him in to get charged, first of all, because he has a 27% charge as of when I just checked. Actually, though,
Display network status N. AC adapter connected.
let me get my SD card out of my U2 Mini and go ahead and back him up. Or not back him up, but like restore the U2's settings onto the U2 Mini so he at least sounds like I like him to sound. He came out of the box sounding like my U2 came out of the box sounding. And that's to be expected, but I do have some things set up differently when they're set up to be the way I like them to be set up, and I'm going to do that for him now.
Flash disk network. Flash disk network. List item.
He can't read my SD card for some reason. Shit. Well,
Braille display B on. List item. Voice B. Saved options. Option settings 114. Check
at least he sounds like... Why can't he recognize my... Let me see if I can reset him.
File manager F.
Let's try putting this SD card in. The noise is coming on like he can acknowledge the SD card. Or like he knows the SD card is in him.
Flash disk. List item. Flash disk. List item. Network. List item. Flash disk. Network. List item.
But he cannot acknowledge the SD card. Why? Do I have other SD cards lying around here? I've got tons of other SD cards lying around here. But do I have any like random... Well, here's one. The first thing I want to do is get this back in the Braille Sense before I lose it. That's kind of disappointing. I was kind of counting on being able to pull out this SD card and just kind of carry it from Braille Sense to Braille Sense. It doesn't look like that might be happening.
SD, secure digital card, inserted.
Aha, he acknowledges that one.
SD, secure digital card, list item. SD, secure digital card, remaining space, 23.65 GB total space, 29.02 GB, static box.
He can read a 32 gig SD card, but he can't read a 128 gig SD card. Well, if he works right every other way, then, I mean, that's not a deal breaker. That's a disappointment, but it's not a deal breaker. Wait a minute, you know what I bet the problem is? I wonder if he needs a fat formatted machine, or a fat... Some of these devices can only acknowledge SD cards if they're fat formatted. And Read Mini might be one of those devices. Definitely some limitations right out of the box in my first 20 minutes of experience with him, with my little Read U2 Mini. But none of them are deal breakers as of right now. I'm going to back up all my settings from my U2 onto this SD card. Probably delete some of the stuff on this SD card. This is going to have to be Read 2's or Read Mini's SD card, the one that's in him right now, because he can acknowledge this one. Apparently he can't acknowledge Read. There's Read Mini and Read U2. I guess that's how I'll differentiate between the two of them. Mini can just sit here and charge for a little while. Doesn't have to be on right now. Apparently Mini cannot acknowledge U2's SD card, which is really disappointing. I was hoping to be able to split those, or like just take the SD card from machine to machine. Shit. Oh well. But that's not a deal breaker. U2 can definitely handle Mini's SD card. I'm going to get U2 back in here, put this SD card into U2, prepare it to be Mini's SD card, and while I'm doing so, acknowledge that this is probably all I can do with Mini at the moment, and try to get on with the rest of my night, because it's...
The time is 5:19 p.m.
My first meeting is in less than an hour. I don't have any more time to deal with this right now. I'm not quite as impressed as I thought I would be, but I'm not so unimpressed that I'm going to say, you know, this whole deal's off. I'm sending this guy back, and I'll figure out how to get rid of the Polaris another way. My plan is still to keep the Mini and get rid of the Polaris. I mean, it's too soon to say just yet. I really haven't done much with him at all, but I can't do that right now. And my first impressions are that while I'm a little bit disappointed in the fact that I cannot just interchange an SD card from machine to machine and expect Mini to acknowledge U2's SD card, I can probably get the things that I need off U2's SD card, transfer them to Mini's, and use Mini just as well as I could use U2 for most things. But again, that's a very surface assumption. I haven't even started the tests that he would need to pass in order to say that. But again, even if he failed half the tests, it wouldn't be me saying, okay, he's useless. It would be me calling HIMS, which is the company that made these devices, and say, hey, I recently acquired a U2 Mini. There's some things he's not doing. I want you to run a diagnostic on him. Tell me what it would cost to get him repaired. Of course. Would the money ever be there to get him repaired? That's always to be seen. But by the time I'm convinced that that's what he needs, maybe there will be some kind of money miracle. Or I'll be able to come up with a plan for making that happen. In the meantime, I'm not going to do anything else now in terms of getting to know him, and he can use some charging and I can use some food, and I've got meetings to go to. So I'm going to stop this video for right now. When they say mini, they mean mini. He is teeny. My little baby Braille Sense. This reminds me of, I don't know if it's on YouTube anymore. If it is, I'm going to find it and put it in the description below. I feel like Justine, whatever her name is, opening her iPhone SE compared to the iPhone, or yeah, she opened her iPhone SE and she was like, oh my God, look how teeny. Yeah, that's totally me right now. I'm like, my little bitty baby Braille Sense, look at him. Just sit over there and sleep and get charged up, little baby mini. I was over here taking another look at him. He's got his 1, 2, 3 backspace, 4, 5, 6 enter, and then like right above his keyboard is his teeny tiny little speaker. I mean, I was kind of wondering where that speaker was. I was kind of wondering where his speakers were. He doesn't have speakers. He has a speaker. I hope that I can hear out of both ears when I try to put earphones on. That might be a little bit of a... No, I don't think it'll be a deal breaker, but it'll be a huge disappointment if I can't. In fact, I think I have just enough time before my first meeting to stick an earphone jack in there and turn him on. Thank you, I can hear out of both ears. That's what I needed to know. How are you doing? Oh, he's got 4 gigs of RAM. And he can acknowledge up to a 32 gig SD card, I suppose. Wait, how much? He's got all of his RAM available. Okay. 3 gigs of RAM. For some reason I thought he'd have more than that, but oh well. You know, is he a U2 Mini or a mini? I don't know if it matters. Like, I wonder if he's like a classic Mini or something. Well, he's not a classic Mini. He might be a plus Mini, or he might be a... I'm not quite sure what he is, honestly. But he's... I'm gonna just see if he can do what I need him to do. That's what matters. Let's turn him off. As long as he's got a good word processor and a good MP3 recorder / player. I mean, that's what matters more to me than anything. But he kind of doesn't sound like a U2 Mini. He sounds like a Plus Mini. Whatever model he is, whether he's a Plus, which would be a model below the U2, or a U2 Mini, which I thought had more gigs of RAM than that. I think he's a plus because a plus. I had a Braille Sense that had 4 gigs of RAM, and I had him before I had my Read U2. I think that might be what he is, which, you know, he'll do for a backup. When Read U2 goes to the shop, Read Mini is much better than Zoe as a backup. Okay, I have put my Mini, I still don't know if it's a U2 or a Plus, but I put the Braille Sense Mini, let's just call him that, through a couple of tests. I tried restoring the settings and setting up the internet. He can't even find any wireless networks to pick up, which Read U2 and every other device I have, they can at least see them, even if they can't connect to them right away because like they don't have the credentials, which I backed up all that, so they should have it, but he's just not capable of finding. Well, maybe his modem's out. I don't know. You know, that's not a deal breaker. What else have I done with him? I've done a recording. I can definitely hear a difference, but that was a very minimal test. I want to submit that part to further tests. He definitely seems to have his limits, but so far, as a backup, when the U2, the main better of the two, the U2 is in the shop being repaired. As a backup, he would do okay, I'm pretty sure. And if I want to just throw a device of this nature in my purse or my bag or something, he is absolutely tiny enough to do that. I cannot get over how tiny little Braille Sense Mini is. Like I said, I feel like that IJustine woman who bought a iPhone SE and she was just so stricken by how tiny it was. That was Read U2. I'm seriously going to see if I can't find that video and link it in the description below. I'm not quite as, I guess, expressive about it, but I am equally as taken by how absolutely compact and teeny this machine is. This is probably the smallest Braille Sense I have ever seen, because I have always used big honkin' 32 cell devices, 32 cells on the Braille display. This little bitty thing has 18 or 20 cells. He's a little bitty thing. I still have a lot of tests to put him through before I decide. I mean, I've half decided that he is going to be good enough for me, but I do want to put him through his paces before I just take him on as my for sure backup. But none of that's going to happen today because it is so late I don't even want to know how late it is. I should not be up at this time on a work night, and I'm going to bed. Whatever this Braille Sense is, his recorder is working well enough to allow me to close out this video. It's time for me to go to bed, and it's time for us to end this video. I can't go on any longer without running up against the limitation of tunes to tube. Thank you for watching, and you'll hear from me in the next video. Bye.